The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you. Hello, and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist, Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
the knockoff creature that is Eric Velasquez. My pronouns are also he, him.
This... I guess we should say we're talking about Victor Frankenstein, the...
2015?
Yeah. But yeah, it feels kind of like the novel in ways in that, like, the creature is kind of like an afterthought. Like, this is much... the title kind of gives away that this is more about Victor than about the monster. But It's really more than that. It's about Igor.
Well, I'll be... Yeah, absolutely it is. If you have Daniel Radcliffe, like, coming off of the Harry Potter series, you're pretty much going to give him close to top billing. I know now he's basically kind of he's a secondary cast member for the most part, but this is right when he came off his power. Watching
it, I haven't seen this since it came out, and when I started, I was like, oh, this is from, like, the time of the Sherlock show and the Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr. movies and stuff. It was when we were taking public domain literary characters and turning them into action heroes.
Yeah.
And in fact, I looked it up in the director, Paul McGuigan.
Yeah.
He directed a bunch of episodes of the British Sherlock show. So,
that
like,
makes sense.
Yeah, it's a very similar event. And in fact, our main detective in this is the guy who played Moriarty in the Sherlock series. So
he sure did.
Definitely. Yeah, he's so good in Sherlock. He's good in this too, but like him in Sherlock was just, so ominous.
Right. Are we going to talk about the writer, Max Landis, son of...
yeah, I feel like we need to.
Okay. So, I guess, I don't know if it's relatively recently or in the last just couple years, just kind of gross, right?
Yeah, like, so he's the son of John Landis, who already has a pretty bad, track record.
Man.
I'm
going to get John, I got a few of my actors killed Landis.
Yeah. So the fact that Max Landis was able to sort of get past his dad's reputation and, like, become a pretty successful writer was already a big feat, and then he got Me Too'd, like, so hard. Like, it was like, not like a woman came out, it was like 9 women came forward and said, like, he just completely torpedoed his career.
Yeah.
And this was, I think, one of the last things he did that, like, I think he's done a couple little things where he's trying to get his name back out there, but he's never going to have the career that it looked like he was going to.
Anthony, you're saying this now. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but give us about 15 years and he's going to get rehabilitated.
Oh, yeah, probably so.
Yeah, he's going to be the nicest guy in Hollywood until Me Too Part 2 comes out.
Right. Yeah, it's really sad. It feels like a lot of men have figured out the formula of, like, okay, if this happens, if you just disappear for, like, a couple years,
right, and
then just come back, it'll just kind of fade away. There's so many... like, big and small, I feel like Louis C.K. has kind of started coming out and, like, doing his stand-up specials and stuff again, and, like, he'll have a show before long.
Should we talk about the fact that Kevin Spacey is trying to come back and do, like, what was it, advertisements or something?
Yeah, it's... and, like, the thing that you see over and over again, I know this is a huge, like, sidetrack, but I think it's important to talk about, like, you see when especially young men are accused of things,
people are like, oh, we don't want to ruin these guys' lives.
Boys
But,
will
like,
be boys, which is the grossest thing I think people can say, just about.
yeah, and these guys' lives never get ruined. Like, they're fine.
Yeah.
The women that are in these stories, their lives do get messed up because they get attacked by people who are mad that they're ruining their hero's reputation or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of have to, like, disappear from the public eye to just, be safe.
Right.
And that's why women don't make these stories up, like, because they do have to tank their own lives just to, like, try to get a little bit of justice, and that's
just to
horrible.
tell the truth, they have to risk about 30,000 or however many millions of fans a person has trying to kill them to stop them from getting that out there.
Yeah, I mean, the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing is all, like, I mean, the way that she got piled onto is just it's just terrible.
Yeah. Well, that's two awful people doing awful things. So I don't know if I.
Yeah, and I think in that case, definitely they were both in, not the best partners to each other, but
Yeah.
it definitely seemed like she got a lot more hate from the public than he did for
Right.
everything, and that tells you a lot. Like,
Yeah.
if they were both, I don't know that they were both equally in the wrong, but even if they were, you can definitely see that she got way more of the the hatred from pop culture than he did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's still kind of working, and I think she. Well, she is in the new Aquaman, right? As far as we know, Aquaman 2 that hasn't come out.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe everyone's like, listen, we're just gonna call this one a wash.
Yeah.
All right, but we're not here to talk about this other stuff. And hopefully James McAvoy and Daniel Radcliffe don't come out as awful people, because that would feel bad.
Yeah, so as far as I know, both of them are pretty well respected and haven't gotten up to any trouble that we know of. And
Right.
I mean, Daniel Radcliffe anymore has, like, seems cool. Like, he's doing a lot of, like, weird indie stuff. Like, he just seems like a guy who's like, I made my money, I got my name out there, and now I can do what I want. And, like, I think that's awesome.
Listen, if you can whip your dick out on Broadway, and everyone like clap and thank you for it, you're doing something right.
Yeah. Consensually whip your dick out.
Right.
Broadway.
I mean, people literally paid money to see him do this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
more power to him.
Yep. All right. Another tangent done. All right.
Yeah. So I like, we've talked about a lot of Frankenstein movies. I feel like everybody here listening is well familiar with the story, and I like that this movie kind of acknowledges that right away. Like, we start out with, like, some shots of, like, the creation, lightning and all that, but we get a voiceover from Daniel Radcliffe as Igor, and he just says, this story, a crack of lightning, a mad genius, an unholy creation.
That's fun.
So, like, yeah, he's kind of like, it feels like a Frankenstein the true story kind of thing. Like, you've heard the story the way that pop culture portrays it, but now I'm going to tell you what really happened.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. This is the low down nitty gritty, even though I'm not mentioned in the actual book.
Yeah. He ends his little, like, monologue with, sometimes the monster is the man, which, again, is we've definitely
that's the whole
seen
thing,
that.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. But then we go right to an unfamiliar scene for us, which is like a circus, and you've got a performer. He's like a hunchback clown,
which is Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, he's got, like, he's dirty. His hair's all matted. We see, like, there's like a trapeze performer that he's kind of looking up at lovingly. He's clearly, this kind of feels like, Daniel and I forget the Romani girl's name in the House of Frankenstein, I think.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of deformed hunchback who's in love with this beautiful performer.
Now, I don't want to give Max Landis too much credit here, but this is a good line. We always have someone to look up to, and then trapeze artist overhead.
Yeah, it is really good.
Yeah.
And then we see that, like, he
He's a doctor
kind of
too.
abused. Yeah, like after the performance, which involves like people kind of like throwing him around and like he's not treated well.
Like
But
literally
then,
beating him in the middle of a performance.
Yeah, it's wild. But then like after hours, he's like working on like medical notes and like he is the circus doctor. Like, there's probably a lot of injuries at the circus and he's in charge of caring for all of the performers. And he's got like, anatomical drawings and stuff. Like he's which is, it's kind of a nice, like, he doesn't look like, he's not a distinguished baron doctor like Frankenstein, but he's clearly a very, well-educated and smart man. He just doesn't look like it, so he's not treated well.
Exactly, yeah. And do we even get a name for this guy? I just call him Rat-Face Dude.
Yeah, I don't think he has a name.
Well, anyway, obviously he's verbally abusing Igor, or the person we will come to know as Igor.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert.
At this point, he like literally doesn't even have a name. That's how well treated he is.
Yeah.
He's being mistreated by everyone, which isn't like you'd think that at least the other performers would be like, "Thank you, you're helping us." But
you're setting our bones.
No, he's at the very bottom of the totem pole, basically.
Yeah, quite literally. Everyone stands above him. Wop, 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 wop. Anyway.
So I think it's like we see like the next, or it's like another later day, another circus performance. This is not a traveling circus. It seems like it's like stays
it's like
in
set
this
up
place.
in London.
Mm-hmm. But we see a distinguished gentleman played by James McAvoy.
So we know who that is. Everyone knows who this is.
So he's attending the circus this night.
So one cool thing about this, Victor, is kind of like you were talking about the action hero thing where the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock, like he would analytically like point out the weaknesses of all of his opponents. Well, this Victor literally kind of sees creatures as their anatomical drawings, and like then he narrows in on the part he wants.
Yeah, it's like an X-ray vision. It's not real X-ray vision, but like he just knows what's under there because he's just, a medical doctor or whatever.
He's that gifted.
Yeah. And so, we see that, as he's walking around, like he's like kind of like seeing the skeletal structure of various animals. And then, he sits down to watch the performance, and Lorelei, the trapeze dancer, slips and falls.
Well, at the moment they showed that she was in here, I was like, oh, fuck. She's going to die, isn't she?
Yeah. And so, she hits the ground, and she isn't dead, but she's not breathing. She's like broken some bones.
Yeah, and it's cutting off her oxygen.
Mm-hmm. So, Victor, being, medically savvy, goes to like help.
But he's like, oh, too bad. I guess she's going to die.
Yeah. He's like, we don't have the equipment here we need to save her. It's a lost cause. And of course, Igor being also medically savvy, but also being in love with this woman, he's not going to give up. So
he's also not looking for body parts.
Yeah, so he does like the same kind of, he has the X-ray vision kind of power as well, and realizes he has an idea. He like borrows Victor's pocket watch and like presses on her collarbone and like kind of like, sets the bone. Or he starts to, and Victor's like, no, wait, I see what you're going to do, but we need to straighten this. So they kind of team up, and together they are able to set these bones, and it allows her to breathe again. Victor's like, wait, so you're a clown here? Like,
you're a clown physician?
Yeah, you have like a gift. Like what I just saw you do. Like I didn't think I could have saved her, and you did it. So you deserve better than what you're getting here at this circus.
Right, and he's like, come on, we need to go. And Igor's like, nah, this is my home. I wouldn't know what to do outside of it.
Yeah.
And of course the ringmaster's like, all right, pack her up, send her out the back door. We don't want the customers seeing this.
Yeah, so Victor leaves with Lorelei, and I guess head to the hospital.
Well, we also get the title card. We get the title card drop. Oh, my name is Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That'll come back.
So they leave, and then we get. I think the ringmaster knows that like Igor has just kind of like found an out, and we can't let that happen. So he like locks him in a cage.
Fuck his shit up.
Yeah, so they want him to know that he has no better options, that this is like his only place to be. It's his home, his prison, his everything.
Yeah, and what do all great oppressors do? They burn all the books.
Yeah. Take all of Igor's valuable medical notes, burn them up, while I think he's basically in like a tiger cage, you know, like one of those ones on wheels that you see at circuses and stuff. So, you know, he's not feeling great. And then a little later, Victor comes. It's night now. He comes to see, and he's like, I'm getting you out of here. I'm taking you away. You deserve better than this.
Yeah, I like how he has a high-powered magnet, like a lockpick. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's more kind of like the action hero-y kind of thing. And Igor at first is like, I don't know, like, and he's like, listen, this is your last chance. Like, we've got to run. So, do you want me to free you or not? And he's like, okay, fine, free me. So,
right as Barnaby comes, the ringmaster Barnaby comes out and's like, hey, get away from my hunchback over there.
Which then leads to like an action sequence. It's like an extended escape where they're running, they're jumping over things, they're like fighting people as they go. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like this is where I was like, oh, this is like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock. It's very similar in the you know, the action packed scene.
Yeah, it kind of ends with the quote unquote rat boy. I mean, because he has the big teeth and his face looks like a rat. He comes out with a rifle, or double-barreled rifle, and he's like, "All right, I got you now." And I like how Victor's like, "Oh, do you? I'm just going to turn this light on to obscure you." Then the knife thrower comes through, sees the reflection of Victor, throws his knife, kills the rat boy.
And they end up finally, like, they're in the center of like the main, you know, tent, and they're like surrounded by people, and Victor's like, what do we do? And Igor's like, oh, there's a secret passage. They like pull up a vent and just vanish. They're like hiding behind horses and stuff.
We just happen to put this circus over a grate.
Right.
Nothing could go wrong with animals that have fragile legs or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because they escape through. They go down this grate and then they just like go through a tunnel and suddenly they're just like out in London. And immediately Igor's like, I've never been outside of the circus. I don't even know what to do. But he knew how to, like, he knew this path, but says he's never been. I don't know if he just heard other people talk about that it was a tunnel out, but
we'll never know. It's not that important.
Right.
They escape. That's what's important, right?
Yeah.
So this is bad writing. This is what this is. So we get to ding him.
So from there, you know, Victor takes Igor back to his lab, and, you know, he's like, this is where you live now. Like, this is our home. Yeah. And he kind of is like, you know, kind of gives him a little bit of a tour. There's a shower. You'll probably need that soon. But then
he just comes out with fucking, like, super crazy surgical equipment. A siphon with a needle on it.
Yeah, and of course, Igor has never been treated well by anyone in his life, so he's like, oh, okay, now there's the other shoe's dropping, you're going to do something fucked up to me, because that's what people do to me.
It's a crazy sex thing is what this is.
And, you know, Victor is like, you know, no, just hold still, and he, like, pushes him up against a wall.
Right, he dive tackles him into the pillar.
Yeah. And jams this big needle into Igor's back. And he's like, so you thought you were like a hunchback with like a spine injury or, you know, deformation or whatever. But no, you just have an abscess.
Right, a massive fucking abscess that's bent you over.
So he drains it.
Okay.
And suddenly...
This man is sucking on the end of this tube like it was fucking for his he was siphoning gas out of a car. But it's pus.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was pretty gross. Yeah, he has to spit some of it out. It's unpleasant.
Quite a bit. And I like how once he siphons it all, he's like 3, 2, 1, and he pulls out.
Yeah.
That's a metaphor right there.
And now, you know, Igor doesn't have a hunch anymore. He's still kind of like leaned over a little bit, and Victor's like, yeah, your body is used to dealing with this. Right. So we need to put you in a back brace now. And he does, and suddenly, you know, it's just Daniel Radcliffe. Like, he just looks, you know, mostly normal now.
Just a little disheveled, that's it.
And that's when Victor's like, yeah, now that we got that taken care of, maybe shower. That might be the next step to getting you looking better.
And then he's pretty much like, hey, I don't know your name, and I don't know if you know your name, but now you're Igor Straussman, my roommate, who likes to take opium.
Mm-hmm. He's like, you need to, you're in hiding now, so you need an alter ego. So that's what we're gonna go with.
I'm gonna go down in my basement and work on something. Looks at the camera and shrugs.
Right. Yeah. So. So Igor goes to take a shower while Victor goes to work, and then I think we go back to the circus where the police have arrived, and of course Barnaby tells them a bullshit story. We have this dangerous hunchback that we've kept under lock and key to protect the city, and he escaped and he killed some people and everything. And like right away the police, like we've got Inspector Turpin, who's like the guy who played Moriarty. And
he knows what's up.
He's like this is bullshit. Like this is clearly this was a person who'd been held in captivity and someone helped him escape. And his partner is like, okay, that makes sense.
But he's like, nah, report it as a murder though. we still want to find out what's going on with these people.
Yeah, he said, I think that our circus freak may only be the beginning. There's something bigger happening here, and we need to get to the bottom of it.
Well, he's not wrong.
Yeah,
Then we cut to a very happy taxidermied monkey hanging off a bookshelf. And Igor waking up. This is after he's cut his hair, and now he's beautiful Daniel Radcliffe.
Right, yeah. He wakes up, and like he's by himself, and he can't. And Victor's not around anywhere, and he's kind of used to being abandoned, but then he sees that Victor left a note and is like, hey, I've got class, I'll be in school, but...
here are the keys, here's some money.
Yeah, here's some clothes, for clean clothes, like, like, we've often, we usually have Victor not really having, like, caring for his assistant, and certainly not for his creation, but this Victor seems to be kinder, or, at least, he's capable of, like... being kind, whether it's for ulterior motives or not,
right?
He has remains to be seen. To him. Yes, yeah, he's capable of like understanding that Igor has needs and that he should care for him,
right?
So yeah, that's a big step up from most of our Victor Frankensteins.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a big character departure, especially from some of the books we've read.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. And he just trusts Igor. He's like, you can have your run of the house. Here's some money. Do what you want. Right. I'll be back later and we can have dinner. So Igor's enjoying this newfound freedom and possibility. So he.
I will
takes
say
the money.
that this is the most unbelievable part of the movie, though, is that Igor walks out and sees a bright, sunny London.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
Yes, especially at this time period.
Right.
London's always.
Choked.
Yeah, but yeah, this would not be quite as. Yeah, it's almost metaphorical. Like he's stepping out into the sun of a possibility. He's out of the circus and everything. But yeah, London would definitely not be this pretty at this time.
Honestly, it probably would be a little bit better if like you had all that bright light, and then he steps out and it's just like a sign, and behind it's the dreary London that we come to know.
Yeah. But of course, the first place that he goes is to the hospital because he wants to check in on Lorelai, see how she's doing.
Yeah, and of course, hospitals at this time are not the best. So they pretty much just... I don't know if, like, maybe this was, quote, unquote, poor people hospital because there's just a row of people in their beds.
Yeah, it looks more like what you see as, like, a battlefield hospital. It's just, like, one big open room. And Lorelai is unconscious, and Igor talks to the nurse a little bit, and she's just like, we're doing all that we can, but like, that we just kind of have to just leave her. And he's like, make sure that she gets the best care. When she wakes up, tell her that a friend came by, like, make sure she has everything she needs. And he gives her a little bit of the money that Victor gave him.
You gotta grease those palms.
Yeah. So, it's like Igor is getting comfortable with his new station pretty quickly. Like, I'm going to use this to my advantage in whatever way I can. So
that's as many people do.
Yeah. And I think then he heads out, and on his way home, he sees wanted posters that feature drawings of him and Victor both.
Right. But of course, his are the sad clown version versus the handsome Daniel Radcliffe version.
Yeah. So then I think we go back to the police station where Inspector Turpin is talking to his. Does the other cop ever get a name?
Alistair.
He's just kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
He's just kind of like a sounding board for Turpin to talk at.
Right. I mean, that's
But
pretty
he's
much
like-
what he is, but they do give him, they say his name, like, offhandedly. And,
Okay.
Twice. But yeah, so now they found a pouch that Victor dropped. We saw Victor drop it. And what's in that pouch?
It's like a tiger foot, right?
I think
Or
it's a
some kind of-
lion's paw.
Lion, okay. But yeah, like he's, and Turpin's like, the man who helped the hunchback escape dropped this, and there's been a rash of animal parts being stolen around
Right.
London for the past couple weeks.
Yeah, someone hit the zoo a couple weeks back, right?
Yeah. So I think these things are tied together in some way.
This is a good inspector. He's very Moriarty of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Igor gets back home. Victor's already gotten back from class. And Igor's like, "Look what I saw on the way home. They're after us. Like there's this wanted
he
poster."
sees Igor hunched over a drawing on the floor, right? And he's like, "Oh, you're hunched over again."
Yeah. But like, Igor's worried. Like I don't want to be like pursued by the police. I want a new life where I'm not in danger all the time. And Victor's like, "This doesn't even look like you. The drawing of me doesn't look like me. This is fine." Like,
Yeah, we're good.
it's like he's just kind of laughing about it. He's like, they did a terrible likeness. Like that nose is not my nose.
It's a pretty accurate James McAvoy, though.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, like the Igor looks just like the hunchback version of him, but he's definitely got a little bit more room to hide, with his new appearance. But
Right.
yeah, I feel like if I was Victor, I'd be a little worried about that.
Yeah. But, I mean, he's got money, right? So why is he really worried? So,
Right.
Yeah. So, hey, let's go to dinner.
Yeah, they sit down to dinner, and Igor is eating with his hands, and
He's like,
Victor's
use
kind of
the
like,
cutlery.
yeah, he's like teaching him table manners a little bit. They talk about, Victor's work, and he's like, I've got all these theories, I've got all these ideas, but like, you have some of the most skilled surgeon hands I've ever seen. Like, you in action was impressive, and I need you as like my hands, basically. I want an assistant who can do some of the detail work that I'm not capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, I got something I got to show you.
So you know what I'm up to. And
Yeah.
so he takes him to the lab, and we've got a big jar full of liquid with floating eyeball. Or these aren't even just eyeballs, they're like eyelid, like it's like the face, but just the eye part. Like
Right.
there's like,
There's
skin,
eyeballs
eyelids,
set in,
and
like, the cheeks, the upper parts of the cheeks.
yeah. And Victor starts, he's got like it's connected to all this equipment. He starts turning a crank on like a
Science hexagon.
yeah. Yeah, it's all manual, but he's like turning it really fast, and like there's sparks going and everything. And
Yeah, he
then
remarks that
suddenly-
the eyes have been in this fluid for like 3 months. Mm-hmm. And they're still good.
And like it doesn't seem like anything happens, but then he like pulls out a match and lights it and like moves it back and forth, and the eyes follow the light.
Right,
and
but Igor's
obviously,
like, this is a mess. You just jacked the nerves up, man. Like, if you connected them in this other way, they would have been fine. They would actually be able to follow the light and see. And it's like, how do you know that? How do you really know that?
yeah, I mean, he doesn't have any medical training as far. I mean, like if he doesn't even have a name, there's no way he went to med school.
Right.
He's
And hell,
just,
if he went
I
to med
guess-
school, why is he a hunchback clown?
Right. Yeah, he just, I guess, just is a natural. He just like has the abilities, which is not a thing. Like,
Right.
being
I
a
wish I
doctor.
could just Jedi medical school.
Right. But Igor is intrigued, and Victor's obviously like interested in the fact that Igor's catching mistakes that he made. Like, this is going to be a good match. They've got, you know, Igor's skill and Victor's theory. It's going to work well together. Victor's like, you know, okay, this lab is your lab now. Play around. Here's all these books, whatever you need.
Well, he literally says, I'm going to assign you schoolwork, basically. I'm going to need you to do that.
Yeah. And that leads right into a montage of them, like, doing some, like, anatomical experiments. They're, you know, just, you know, they're learning to work together and learning what they're capable of.
Victor's just bringing random piles of meat to Igor.
Yeah, and Igor's, you know, attaching things and just, you know, doing all of the Frankenstein stuff. As the montage ends, we see Lorelai leaving the hospital and, like, getting into a carriage or something, and, like, Igor is watching from a distance. Yeah. It's, you know, it seems like he's happy that she's out, but he's like, where's she going? Like, this, you know, this isn't the circus. Like, the people that are picking her up are it's not somebody that looks familiar to him.
Right. And I think that he's like, oh, now she has a benefactor, so she's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. Probably never going to see her again, though.
But he's hoping for the best for her. You know, like, he's escaped the circus now, and he would like that for her as well. Like, she deserves a better life than she had there.
Exactly. Everyone does, apparently. Except for the ringleader, Barnaby. But as Igor arrives home, just to remind us that he's not the actual Igor, he receives a set of final notices for overdue payment.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it reminds him that that supposedly he's, you know, acting in place of this previous Igor, this friend who's often out traveling, but, like, he could come back at any time. Who knows? Mm.
Boy, that'll be something when that happens, right? When they introduce each other. Yeah.
So then Victor gets home and he's like, "We're gonna celebrate. We've accomplished so much in our practice work. Like, we're getting close to really getting to something. But I've been invited to this ball. We should go."
Well, it's a special club that his dad has membership in. Basically, nepotism, like, light, if that. Mm-hmm. Well, no, it's just strongly nepotism, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because my dad is a member here, I get to go.
Yeah. And then we cut straight to the party where Victor and Igor are sitting at a table with these two women.
Right. Victor's like, hey, let's do test tube babies. And then, like, once they're grown a little bit more, we could put them in you so you could birth them.
Right.
What?
Yeah, it's, you know, like, Victor grew up in this, like, upper class family. He should know how to, like, behave in public, and Igor did not. He's a circus freak. He should not, but, like, Victor is scaring these women to death. Like, he's talking about really, like, complicated scientific stuff that sounds scary and weird to them, and Igor's just kind of like, Victor, you probably shouldn't, like, maybe chill.
I'm going to be real with you. This is Victorian times. That's probably exactly what an upper class person thought about women, you know? It's like, oh, you're there for the babies.
Right, yeah, that is true. So eventually I think Igor gets up to, like, wander around, see other things at the party, and he bumps into Lorelai. At first, she doesn't recognize him, because obviously he looks quite a bit different.
Right. He does the sad boy thing of turning around and walking away.
Yeah, but then, like, she realizes, she like makes the connection, and she's like, oh my god, you look so great, like, you look like you're doing so much better, I'm so happy.
Yeah, it turns out there was just a bunch of pus in my bag.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, you know, I'm performing in this cabaret now, like, you know, she says the guy's name.
Baron Bromine, or Bromine.
Okay. She's like, I attend social events with him, and he runs this cabaret where I perform.
Right. And in public, I'm his consort, but behind closed doors, he prefers the gentleman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, she's a beard. She's kind of helping this guy get through a society that would not be okay with his actual lifestyle. So
even almost 200 years later.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, so they're kind of, like, happy to reconnect, and, you know, obviously Igor's happy to know that she's not really already seeing somebody, that maybe he's got a chance.
Yeah. And of course Victor has to rush up and is like, hey, is this the fallen angel? Because she fell and broke her bones, see?
Yeah. He's like, he starts, you know, rattling off to her that, like, you know, Igor's he's my assistant now. It's great. Like, we're going to defeat death. And she's like, no, you shouldn't try to do that. Like, that's bad. Like, that's, this is, again, pretty standard stuff for people to be like, you're like, spitting in the face of God. Like, it's not okay. Victor's like, no, like, but wouldn't that be great? Like, if somebody you love died, like, you could bring them back.
What's the difference between us resuscitating you and us bringing someone who's dead back to life?
Yeah. And somehow the way that he sways her is with this really dumb card trick thing. He pulls out a little card that just says death on it, and he like touches a match to it, and it's like, phosphorus or something, like it burns up, but then like the card's still there, but now it says life.
How much money did this guy have to sink into this one fucking card for this one trick?
Yeah, it's so goofy. Yeah. She's just like, oh wow, that's real. Yeah, okay, I'm on board now. I now agree with your whole philosophy because of this dumb card.
Like bad magician trick.
Yeah. The party kind of like comes to an end, and Victor and Igor head out in their direction. And Victor's like, I don't know if you should hang around with her. I think she's gonna hold you back from like, what we're working on.
Obviously, he's jealous already.
Yeah. Like, Victor is definitely, like, has an attachment to Igor. Like, he's my partner. Like, I don't want him, having anything else. Like, it's great.
Codependency in place.
Exactly. Like, he's the ideal partner because he has no family, no friends, no anything. Like, he has to just be stuck in my house with me all the time.
Right. That's healthy.
Right, yeah. So I think then they get home and Victor's like, all right, I think it's time. I'm going to show you what I've been working on. You can see my first creation. Yeah. His name is Gordon. And Gordon is not our, Frankenstein monster that we're used to. Gordon is a horrific chimpanzee and other animal amalgamation.
Poor fucking chimp thing.
Yeah, it's like half of its face is decayed away. It looks rough. Like,
Like, he literally picked this up, like, in the scraps of the animal graveyard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, but Victor, starts turning cranks and everything, and he's able to get it to come to life, but it just kind of, like, is alive for a minute, and then
they say the thing, though, right? They go, it's alive. It's alive.
Yeah, of course. And Victor's like, all right, we're good. Like, we can take this to the medical society. Like, I want to show this to our peers.
Yeah. Like, we're going to the college and we're going to give a presentation.
Yeah. And Igor's like, okay, well, good luck with that. And Victor's like, no, you're my partner. You're coming with me. Yeah. Like, this is our project.
Which is nice, he's not taking credit for it all himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Igor's definitely touched by that. And then we see, like, Lorelai at her, at her place. She receives an invitation from Igor to attend the presentation. Like, he's proud of his work and he wants her to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing could go wrong here.
Right. Yeah, so I think we just cut to the presentation, and it's it's in like a surgical theater. You've seen these kind of rooms in a lot of movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now, I love that Victor is a terrible public speaker. Like, eloquent everywhere else. But, like, in public, he's just a stammering mess.
Yeah, it feels right. Like, he's so good at everything. He's got to have some things that he's not. And often, science-minded people are not, they're used to working alone. They're not used to having to, like, talk to, but, and the funny thing is he's not great with public speaking, and he's only speaking to, like, 8 people. Like, nobody attended this. Like, the whole theater's mostly empty. There's, like, a handful of guys, and then Lorelai. That's it.
Well, there's also this really rich kid that's heckling him. He's like, hurry up!
Yeah, super shitty guy.
Yeah. By the way, his name's Finnegan. He's an important character.
Yeah, so they try to revive Gordon. Nothing happens except that, like, a bunch of flies come flying out of its mouth.
And everyone's like, oh, great. You just stirred up all the flies in this dead chimpanzee.
Yeah, it's terrible. So everybody starts to kind of get up and file out. They weren't very confident that Victor had much to show anyway, and now they've been confirmed that, no, he's a quack.
Yeah.
But Finnegan kind of sticks around and starts, mocking him more. And
he came for a show, and he's here to heckle.
Yeah, exactly. And, Victor keeps trying to give Gordon more juice, and finally Gordon wakes up, but instantly just is in, like, attack mode, just, like, starts fighting.
Yeah, he pulls out all the tubes. He doesn't like all the tubes being attached to him.
Yeah, and he, like, knocks Victor down and, like, goes, like, running out of the theater, and so Igor starts chasing after him.
But he sees Lorelei, and he, like, stops for, like, a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Okay, is this a King Kong reference?
Yeah, it kind of feels that way, doesn't it? Like,
okay, yeah, just checking.
Beauty tames the beast kind of thing.
Yeah.
Igor ends up kind of like catching up to Gordon in like a lab. They tussle and they both end up like falling over a balcony and they're like hanging on.
Yeah. And Gordon, of course, being a chimpanzee, he's trying to scale Igor.
Yeah. So Victor comes in at that point and, sees them and is trying to help Gordon up. And Igor's like, he's dangerous. Like, don't let him fall. Help me.
Right.
Help me get up. But, Victor does.
Priorities.
Yeah. So we've seen Victor being kind, but now we see that, like, Victor the work is still the most important thing to Victor.
Yeah. There's still a lot of Victor in Victor.
Exactly. Yeah. So he gets Gordon up, and then he does help Igor up after that. Gordon is still, like, dangerous and, like, fighting and stuff, and, like, they end up having to, like, kill Gordon to, like,
they put him down with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
I love how Finnegan's like, that was brilliant, good job. I'm going to endorse you guys.
Yeah, he's kind of impressed, actually. And he's like, I'd like to see what you all can do next. And, my wealthy family, like, I can get some money and bankroll you and help, progress your work.
Yeah, this time could you make maybe a guy instead of just a monster, a beast?
Yeah, and Victor's like, oh, yeah, that'd be great. Like, that's really the dream. That's what I want. And Igor's like, look what just happened with this. Like, maybe we should do some smaller experiments before we try to make a man. Like, that seems risky at this point.
But Victor shows his inner, like, Dr. Frankenstein. He's like, hey, you need to know your place.
I'm the scientist. You're the assistant. You do what I say.
Yep.
Later that night, like, Igor's, like, having a nightmare. We're just getting little, like, flashes. It's a pretty short, it's not like a dream sequence or anything.
Right.
But he's woken up by a knock at the door, and it's Inspector Turpin who wants to talk to Victor.
Yeah.
Igor's like, no, he's not here right now. You have to come back another time. And
I love how Inspector Turpin's like, hey, didn't you used to have a hump?
Yeah, he's like, do you miss the circus? And Igor's like, what? No, I don't know what you're talking about. My name's Igor. I'm a totally different guy. But Turpin, yeah, he's good about, like, playing things just right. Like, he's scaring Igor to see what he'll say, but, like, he's not, trying to arrest him just yet. Like, he's kind of, playing things a little close to the vest, but letting him know, like, I'm on to you. I think at that point, Victor does come in, and Turpin's like, there was an attack at the college, there was an animal, and Victor's like, yeah, that was us. It was this chimpanzee, he was a totally alive chimp that we were doing experiments on, and he went mad and attacked, but we put him down, everything's fine.
Well, he tells them that he was teaching the chimpanzee primitive belief systems.
Right. It's bizarre. And Turpin knows there's more going on.
Turpin's talking about God and such.
Yeah. Basically, Turpin, he's talking about God, he's talking about religion and stuff, and, like, he makes Victor mad enough that Victor's like, I've made a creation, I'm like a god. And Turpin's like, yes, okay, so you did just admit that it wasn't just a live chimp. You actually were doing something.
Well, and then Victor's like, is what I would say if I did stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Victor's not exactly, like, Turpin is definitely smarter when it comes to this kind of thing. Victor is, his meta's match as far as that goes. Yeah. But Victor is like, you can't, I don't see a warrant, so I'll get out of here. We'll and Turpin's like, all right, I'll be back. I will get a warrant and I will return.
Yep.
It's cut to, like, later on that day. Igor and Lorelei are taking a walk through London, and again, she's like, I'm scared for you. Like, I feel like what you all are doing is dangerous. And, I don't think Victor has your best interest at heart. Like, I feel like you deserve better than how he's treating you.
Right.
And Igor's like, yeah, but he saved my life. Like, I owe him everything. So
Right.
I have to stick with him.
He made me to a degree, right?
Mm-hmm. But Lorelai's like, yeah, but he's supposed to be your friend. Like, if you all are friends, then, like, you should be honest about how you're feeling about the work, and Victor should respect your thoughts and your beliefs.
Yeah.
Which leads right into, like, Igor at home alone, talking into a mirror, practicing what he's going to say to Victor.
Well, that's when Charles fucking Dance shows up at the door.
Yeah. Yeah, and he is as nervous as we would all be if Charles Dance showed up. Like, he's very intimidated by him.
No doubt.
And we learn that this is Baron Frankenstein, Victor's father. He wants to speak to Victor, of course.
And he immediately knows that this is Igor, or at least he just calls him Igor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe he just doesn't care. He's like, somebody else who lives here is named Igor Straussman. This is the guy.
Yeah. He's talking to Victor comes out and the Baron's like, I'm disappointed in you. The school said they're about to expel you because you've not been going to class. You've been...
Yeah, I had to cover up for your goofs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he says the thing that disappointed dads always have to say in movies, which is,
Yeah.
I wish you could be more like your brother who died.
He says more like Henry.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
an allusion to the movie, right? Henry Frankenstein.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So he leaves after basically shattering Victor's spirit.
Right. As Charles Dance is wont to do.
Right.
He is legally obligated to crush a spirit before he leaves a room.
Exactly. And unfortunately, that kind of ruins Igor's opportunity to, like, tell Victor his concerns. Now he sees Victor is, he sees the vulnerable side of Victor, and he's like, come on, buddy, let's do our experiments. Like, I'm here to help you. I want to support your project. So
Yep.
the Baron kind of sent Igor down the path that he was trying to avoid, unfortunately.
Yep. So let's go do some science about it.
Yeah.
We're going to make this big chalk outline.
Yeah, Victor's like drawing an anatomical drawing on the floor, and Igor's like, no, I think the problem is it needs to be bigger. If we make it bigger, we can fit everything we need in there.
Right.
And
Victor's like, this will be my modern Prometheus. Ah, dun, 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 dun.
But then Victor's like, but if we make it bigger, like, there's the organs, they're not going to be powerful enough to handle it. And Igor's like, yeah, we'll just give him 2 hearts, 4 lungs.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Give him 2 of everything, or a pair of everything, right?
Yeah. And Victor's like, yes, hell yes, this is it. We've got it figured out now.
So you shouldn't let your friends drink and diagram, because this is what comes of it.
Right.
They bust out the whiskey and go to town on the science.
Yeah. We get a lengthy montage of they're drinking, they've got chalk, they're drawing and figuring
Victor's
it all out.
All right, here's a great idea. We're gonna give him a flathead. Igor's like, why? He's like, 'cause I want to.
Yeah. I really liked that line.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah.
We go from them sort of feeling very victorious and everything's going their way to the police station where Turpin is not doing as well. He's frustrated. He can't get the warrant.
Yeah, they're telling him you're off the case, or not you're off the case, but we're not letting you go through with this investigation. There was a guy who showed up with a lot of money whose name was Baron something. He told us to stop, and we did. So.
Yeah, and but Turpin is like, I have a moral duty. Like, this is, he's very religious and like feels like
this is his Frankenstein obsession moment, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like he's not gonna listen to anybody. He's gonna do what he has to do to bring this to a stop.
Yeah.
And we see this a lot with cops in movies too. Like, it's like the rogue cop who's not, like, give me your gun and your badge, but he's still gonna go out and
solve the crime.
Yeah, exactly. So, he's definitely in that stage. But yeah, like,
but this isn't one of those movies.
Right, yeah. I think the parallel with Victor is definitely intentional, where like they both are single-minded and blinded by their goal.
Right.
And
They're both like assured of their moral high ground.
absolutely, yeah. I think the next thing is Igor is like, I've got plans tonight, Victor. I can't help with the experiment. I've got a date. Lorelai and I are going to a ball.
And Victor's kind of like, well, we were going to work on a Prometheus together.
And Igor's like, yeah, I'll be back. We'll work on it tomorrow. And Victor's like, okay, fine. Just go. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah,
and Igor's
it's
like,
not fine.
well, I've never been around passive-aggressive behavior because I've been locked in a cage. So good. I'm glad it's fine. I'll see you later. And he just...
As all straight men are wont to do. Okay, this is fine.
Right.
I've definitely done that once or twice.
Right. So then we just get a montage of Igor and Lorelai at the ball. They're dancing. They're having a great time. I think the last scene is that we don't see them have sex, but it's like they're laying
Heavily
together.
implied.
Like they're definitely going to.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Victor back, still working in the lab alone.
Well,
and
it's Igor walking home after the one night, and the inspector is now at Victor's home, trying to break in with his crew.
yes. Yeah, they're like hammering on the door, and Igor sees, and he's like, "Oh, I guess I'm gonna go in the back door then." So yeah, he's able to get right into the house like it's nothing, and is like, "Hey, Victor, the police are trying to break in. We need to go."
Right, and Victor's like, not without my machines, baby.
And he's like, "Yeah, the police, if they break in and see everything, we're gonna be in trouble. Oh, also, see this block of ice with this dude in it? That's the original Igor. That's
Right.
gonna be a problem."
Igor Straussman, me, Igor Straussman. He's been dead for a while. And you took his eyes? Yeah. I needed those. That's what you saw earlier in the gel, remember?
Victor's like, it was an overdose. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
kill him. I just made use of him. And Igor's like, I thought you said he was just gone. Like, he just left.
Well, yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, I mean, he's gone. Like,
He's not coming back unless we make him.
and at that point, Turpin does burst into the house. He's got a gun. He's waving it around, he's pointing it at Victor. And Victor's like, I don't know what you think you're doing. I don't fear death. Like, I am past that.
My assistant's still here. He'll bring me back.
And Turpin's like, like the fear of death is useful. Like, I fear death. My wife died. I wish that she hadn't, and I want to live as long as I can.
Right. And Victor's like, well, we could bring your wife back to life. And
Mm-hmm.
the inspector's like, she's alive in the kingdom of heaven. And that sets
Yeah.
Victor the fuck off. He's like, religion's a fiction. Don't get over that.
Yeah, yeah, and so we see they're like, I mean, they're in ideological opposites here, and they're clashing hard, and so like, Victor's like, you're believing this nonsense. It's not real. Like, I could bring her back to life really here, right in front of you. You could really talk to your wife instead of imagining that you're gonna see her again someday in the sky.
Yeah.
And Turpin's like, you're a madman, and history will bury you. No one will remember your name. You're going to be forgotten.
Right. And then Victor's like, oh, okay, you're hitting me in the soft spot there. Hey, Igor, drop whatever you're doing. And then gets the inspector's attention, and Victor goes for the gun.
Mm-hmm. So they kind of like, they fight, and Turpin gets knocked back into some science gears that are turning,
Right.
and his hand gets crushed, and he's like trapped. He can't get loose.
Yeah.
So Victor and Igor manage to escape through a tunnel out the back as the cops finally break into the front door.
Right. And the inspector breaks out at this point because, well, he's one hand less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he runs out and sees as Victor and Igor jump into a carriage that has a family crest on the door, and
Their rich benefactor has helped them once more.
Yeah, and Turpin recognized it as the Finnegan house crest. But they do get away, of course. They're in the carriage, and Turpin is injured. You can't really pursue at this point.
Yeah.
So I think the next scene is just Victor and Igor arriving at Finnegan's house.
And Finnegan's like, all right, get some shit. Like, what we got some clothes for you. You're going to Scotland. We've got an estate up there. You're good.
Yeah, it's very secluded. Country estate. No one will bother you. No one will hear what you're up to. And Victor's like, perfect. This is great. Igor's like, I don't know. Like things have gone too far at this point. Like,
gave me a dead guy's name.
Yeah. I don't think you have my best interest at heart, and I think I'm gonna stay. Victor's like, I created you. Like,
right.
you have to do what I say. And Igor's like, no, I don't. I can be my own person now. You set me free, and I appreciate that, but I have to be who I need to be now.
Right. And of course, because now he knows he can't control Igor, he's like, well, you're dead to me. Bye.
Yeah, so he gets into a carriage and is, headed off to the country estate. Finnegan's like, well, since you're sticking around, Igor, there's probably some things that we could work on together.
Right.
And then
we don't need you going out in public or anything.
Yeah. But then suddenly Finnegan has like a couple, big like bodyguard dudes with him.
Yeah,
he
remarks
Igor.
that Igor, you don't have any family, you don't have any friends. Your last friend left just a second ago, and you're a loose end, so it's time to tie you up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they tie him. They put a bag over his head, and they throw him in the river.
Well, you see, they throw him in the Thames. Well, you see, though, he was in the circus, which means he automatically knows how to escape bonds,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, so yeah, he's able to wriggle out of the ropes, swim to safety. We cut away from that as he like pulls up onto the shore, and we're back at the station where Turpin tries to tell his boss what just happened.
Right, he's like, Straussman isn't Straussman. He's some other. He's a hunchback that worked at the circus, and the inspector's like, okay,
Yeah, he sounds completely crazy because what he saw was completely crazy.
Crazy.
And the boss is like, all right, yeah, you're suspended. You had
didn't
no
have a
warrant.
warrant
You shouldn't
to
have been
begin
there. Yeah. And Turpin, like, we also see that he's replaced his hand at this point. He's got like a wooden, like mannequin type hand.
Right.
It felt sort of like a nod to, what is it, Son of Frankenstein?
Yeah.
The inspector has the mechanical hand. He's been kind of completely taken off the job at this point. And then we cut back to Igor, who is waking up in a bed being cared for by Lorelei. I guess, I don't know if he made it to her or she found him, but like she's kind of like, he's mostly okay, but he was, thrown in the cold river and stuff, so she's just kind of like making sure he's going to be all right.
Yeah, but he still has that pocket watch of Victor's that he had when he saved Lorelei.
Yeah, and that, like, he's looking at it and it kind of like he has like a flashback of Victor telling the story of how he got the watch. Victor's kind of vague. Like, he's like, he got trapped in a storm. It was like a blizzard or something.
He had a friend with him, I think is what he says too.
Mm-hmm. And, that he was able to make it out, but his friend didn't. And he keeps the watch with him now as a reminder that people are weak and imperfect, and that, he wants to like find a way to make people able to survive the harsh conditions of life. Right.
And what's the name that Igor finds inscribed in the pocket watch? Henry Frankenstein, to be specific.
Yes. Yeah, so, obviously there was a lot there that we already pretty much assumed, but yeah, now it's pretty clear that like Victor had a brother who died, and that
probably his fault.
Mm-hmm. And that his father holds him responsible, and it makes me think of like the Walk Hard Dewey Cox thing where his dad's like, the wrong kid died, just like keeps saying it over and over again. But yeah, so obviously Igor's kind of like figuring some stuff out, and like realizes what's going on, and so he gets up out of bed, starts strapping his brace on, and Lorelei's like, where are you going? What are you doing? And he's like, Victor needs my help. Like, I now realize some things that I didn't, and like I've got to go to him.
And he says he did make me who I am.
Mm-hmm. And Lorelei's like, well, if you're going, you're not going alone.
Yeah, she's a ride or die. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Like, this is Igor's like finding his place in the world. Like, he's got people who care about him and who want to be with him and everything. So yeah, like it kind of keeps coming back to like we keep talking about Victor created Igor. He made him who he is and stuff. This like Igor is the creation in this, to a certain extent, and he's kind of getting the best of that. Like he's not like shunned by society. He's
or by Victor. Truly,
exactly.
Not truly.
Yeah. So I think then we have, Igor and Lorelai leave, and we cut to Victor at the Finnegan country estate, where he is building his big creation, and right. Igor and Lorelai arrive outside
as the storm's rolling in.
Mm-hmm.
So the scene's being set for the final confrontation.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So they kind of like they're like at a distance from the house, and they see there's like guards and stuff outside, and they're like, oh, we gotta
this carriage.
Yeah. So Lorelai gets out and like plays like like a damsel, and she's like, hey, we're lost, can you help us? And she's talking to the guards
as Igor just books it into the woods.
Yeah. So Igor manages to like make his way to the house.
I swear I did this exact maneuver in D&D one time.
Yeah, it's a classic, right?
Yeah. Distract the guards.
Yeah. Igor heads into the house, but then
right. They're like, yeah, just go that way and make a turn at the tree, and you'll be on the right path or something. And she's like, all right, thanks, boys. And
but then she bumps into to Turpin.
Why does he have an eye patch? When did he lose a damn eye?
Don't know.
What the fuck?
It's supposed to make him look progressively crazier as it goes, I guess.
I guess, but like, spoiler alert, he's gonna lose the eye patch and his eye's fine.
Yeah.
I want to know what's up with this scene.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's like
but yeah, I mean, he's really deranged in this scene. Like he's like, Victor Frankenstein is in league with Satan. He must be stopped. I've got the power of God on my side, and I've got a
power anime and God on my side.
Exactly. So then in the in the lab we see Victor is working with Finnegan and like a bunch of his minions basically.
Yeah.
They've got a big production going here.
Yep. And pretty much it's given away right away that Finnegan's like, hey, once this guy does the thing, we're gonna.
Yeah, this is gonna be our experiment once it's over with. So
yeah, Frank, good job, buddy. You keep doing what you're doing over there.
Yeah. And then Igor bursts in and he's like, Victor, don't listen. He tried to kill me. He's going to kill you too. Like you're just a tool that he's making use of to better his own situation.
And I love how like Victor Frankenstein he's become at this point, because Victor's like, yeah, probably, but hey, I'll be famous.
Yeah. He's like, the work is all that matters.
Yeah.
I can't stop.
Well, no, because Finnegan's just going to take your work for him.
Mm-hmm.
And Victor's like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, he's like, he says they won't remember Frankenstein the man, only the monster.
Yeah.
Igor's like, I figured it all out. Your story, you lost your brother in the blizzard and you blame yourself, and you want to try to prevent others from knowing the pain that you experienced when your brother died.
Right.
And Victor's like, no, you haven't figured it out. I caused a life to be taken away, and I have to create a new one to replace it.
Right, to address the balance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting. That's crazy, cool take.
Yeah. It's a similar idea. It's like they're on the same sort of wavelength, but I think the difference there, the subtle difference, is that Victor feels like he owes the world something. Like it's
right. He took something from it. He's got to replace it. Yeah,
exactly. But. Igor keeps trying to kind of like sway him that like this isn't the time or the place. You need to give this up. But Victor's not going to listen.
Yeah, and he's like, "There's a storm, baby. It's go time."
Yeah, so they start raising the creation up to the ceiling.
Right, and I like how shitty Finnegan was like, "Yeah, Frank, man, we're going to be great. We're going to be famous. This is going to be awesome." And Victor's like, yep, I believe you.
Yep, and so like, and I mean, this, It's a great ending. Everything looks fantastic here. Yeah. We have like they let these like weather balloons up into the sky to draw lightning and everything, and they're getting struck, and the lightning's traveling down and everything.
Yeah, powers up the system and then injects Prometheus.
Igor's like, Victor, this is too much power. We needed more, but this is this is going to be bad. And then it kind of like goes into sort of montage of everything happening, and we get the same monologue from the beginning of the movie again, where Igor's like, you know this story, the storm, the unholy creation, all of that. And sure enough, the creation who this Victor has named Prometheus starts moving and breathing, but then
too much lightning.
Yeah, lightning continues to strike. Things start exploding. There's fire. The slab that the creature's on, like one of the ropes breaks and it's like swinging loose.
Yeah, I think at this point Finnegan and his scientists basically go crashing into the ground and die because everything's getting shaken.
Yeah, and Turpin bursts in at that point. He's ranting
Sans
crazy
eye patch.
about yeah. He's talking about Satan. He looks over and sees. Or Turpin and Victor are sort of like, facing off again. But then Victor looks over and the slab
hold on.
thing that
we can't pass this lineup. It's too fucking good. Because when Turpin tells him you're doing the work of Satan, like Victor's like, there ain't no Satan. There's just me.
Yes. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, they look over and the slab that the creature was tied to is swaying back and forth, but the creature's not attached to it anymore.
No, where is he?
Yeah. So Turpin is like, he pulls his gun and is trying to shoot it.
Yeah.
And Victor,
it's a goofy fucking looking monster. Let's be honest. Like,
yeah.
the
For
face looks
everything as good as a lot of the stuff in this movie looks, yeah, the monster is pretty generic.
Yeah, like literally, it looks like the giant robot out of Judge Dredd, like the one with fucking Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
So, not great.
Yeah, it's just kind of, I mean, like it actually kind of looks like Frankenstein Jr., like the cartoon robot, but just like flesh.
Yeah,
Like he's just kind of chunky and like that doesn't really have much going on. Like it's
no.
yeah,
There's no
it's not a very
personality.
Interesting character design here.
No, not at all. Like, I'm afraid that they well, we'll get to it, but I think they already planned a sequel before the Me Too movement, and that probably squashed it. Because I feel like at the end we're gonna get sequel bait,
Yeah.
and this is probably
Yeah.
proto creature.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it again, like it feels like this movie is definitely more about Igor than about the monster. So it makes sense that it was kind of an afterthought. I feel like it probably would have made the movie stand out a little more if they had taken
Done
the trouble
something.
to make this. Yeah. But yeah, so like, Turpin is pointing a gun at the creature while Victor is like calling to him and he's saying like, I'm your brother, come to me.
Right. So this is Henry, like, or at least part of him is Henry.
Yeah, which was, I mean, we knew the stuff about, or that, like, Victor felt like he owed a life or whatever, but, like, this is the first that we're getting that, like, this is, that Henry's involved in this.
Yeah.
But once Victor sees the creature up close and realizes, oh no, I've made a monster.
Yeah. There's nothing in there. He doesn't recognize me.
Yeah. So he says, forgive me, Henry, this isn't really life. So he's kind of given up on the creation at this point as well. The Turpin starts firing into the creature, like hits him several times. And as he's kind of, as he's like stumbling around, he manages to knock Victor off the balcony, and then he kills Turpin, right? He just
he pimp slaps him into the electrical box.
Yeah. And so Igor comes to Victor, and they kind of reunite, and they're like, okay, we've got to put a stop to this. This wasn't, like, Victor finally realizes that he was in the wrong here, and that this is not what he wanted.
We've only got one thing left to do, right?
Yeah, we got to put the creation down. So they kind of start fighting, but at this point the lab is on fire. All the lightning strikes.
Yeah. Their fight makes it worse.
Yeah, and I mean, this scene looks great too because it's storming and this castle, it's open on the top to let the lightning in. So there's just rain pouring down on them and all this fire around them and everything.
Yeah, we get Action Doctor again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're at some point, I think Igor gets like some sort of like cattle prod sort of thing, and like he
I
like
don't know
shocks.
if it's a pipe or what it is, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, he like stabs the creature through the chest, and it falls over, and like Igor thinks like, okay, I've done it and everything.
Right.
And
Victor's
then suddenly,
like, 2 hearts. 2 hearts.
yeah, yeah, he has his like X-ray vision thing for a second again. It's too late. The creature stands up. He like knocks Igor out of the way, and Victor
gets his stab in.
Yeah, he gets the other heart, puts the creature down, and then a little later, Igor wakes up. The storm's over. The fires are all out, and Victor is also gone. Like everything's just kind of quiet. But then Lorelei comes walking in, and like she like helps him up and gives him a big kiss.
Yeah,
and hands him a letter from Victor.
Right. And I love this fucking letter. It's great. He's like, yeah, I had to leave. Sorry I didn't tell you about that, but I'm kind of on the run now for killing an inspector and all kinds of other shit. But you'll always be my friend. However, I figured out what I did wrong, and I'm going to fix that. So I may need you in the future. Your friend, title card, Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah. Yeah, in the letter he also says, I may call on you to help with another creation again someday, but you are and will always remain my greatest creation.
Yeah.
And then your friend, Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, emphasizing again that, like, Victor has created this feels like this is sort of what being an actual doctor is about. Like, no, we can't cure death. No, we can't build a bunch of corpse parts into a human.
Right.
We can take a person who has some sort of ailment or something that's afflicting them,
fix it,
and we can fix it, make their life better, give them a reason to go on.
Right.
And that's what Victor could be doing if he focused on the right thing instead of
literally the man could be well known just for healing people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Greatest doctor of his era.
Yeah, and he tried to do this like public display showing off this weird monkey monster when he could be like, this man was a hunchback. He couldn't move around. He was he was afflicted every day by the shape of his body, and now he's got a little back brace and can get around just fine. Like,
well, I don't know how noble it is to say, hey, I stabbed him and drained all of his pus.
Yeah. But yeah, like this is what I can do if I like focus and like, but nope, that's not our Victor. That's not what he wants. So
nope, he's got to take it one step beyond.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that this was an interesting angle. Like, kind of, Igor is often a character that, we've talked about before, that like there's the Fritz hunchback, and then there is the Igor that is actually a criminal. Like, it's a totally different character, and then over time,
right,
they've become merged into this one thing. And I feel like this is a pretty fresh, interesting sort of look at Igor's relationship to Victor, and why they are partners.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like in a just world, this movie would have been called Igor instead of Victor Frankenstein. But obviously, Victor Frankenstein is the selling point here.
Of course, I mean, he's kind of the main character, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
At least the deuteragonist.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some dark backstory going on here with some of the creators, but I think McAvoy and Radcliffe make it worth a watch for sure. They bring light to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they're both very charismatic actors. I mean, obviously, they've both been responsible for carrying a franchise. Harry Potter and the X-Men movies.
Man,
and there's a reason for
McAvoy
that.
did some heavy fucking lifting with that one, didn't he?
Right. Yeah. I mean, when they first announced that, and it was like, yeah, we're gonna do like younger X-Men, and we're getting rid of Patrick Stewart, who is like so Charles Xavier. Right. Like, it was like nobody can possibly step in and take over for him. And
that
McAvoy
was perfect, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He does a great job with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I feel like if there hadn't been, some other stuff in the background, this probably would have become a bit of a franchise. I doubt it would have been like a 7-movie franchise, but like, you know, even like that Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock, there were 2 of those, right?
Yeah, there were 2.
Yeah, I feel like there would have been 2 or 3 of these had things gone a little differently.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, they didn't. So it is what it is.
Yeah, but at least we got this movie. It's good. It doesn't get a lot of attention, I feel like, but yeah, it's definitely worth your time.
Absolutely. All right, anything else we got to say about it?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, Anthony, I think I'm on a little bit of an Igor kick. Like, do we have any more Igor movies? Like, maybe one named Igor?
Yeah. It seemed appropriate. We'd spent some time with Igor. Let's focus on him a little bit more. So yeah, there's an animated film. I've never seen this one. I think it's from like
2008 with John Cusack and Molly Shannon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've heard good things about it. I've kind of like specifically set it aside and not watched it just so we can watch it fresh here. But it looks like it could be fun. So we will find out more about Igor next week.
There we go. All right. Well, where can they find us, Anthony?
So you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. You can find us over on YouTube. And you can also find us at patreon.com/thefrankencast. Where we're still doing the free trials. We've had a couple people take advantage of that recently. And there's so many hours of stuff. If you're only listening to the main feed, you got a lot you can catch up on if you join us over there.
Absolutely. There's a lot of fun stuff over there. All right. Well, anything else we got to say?
I think that's it.
Well, in that case, to be continued.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.